Salutations to whom it may regards to. Thank you for watching.
And thank you for watching.
I wanted to get down into the core and the foundation that I have buried alive deep within the consciousness of this body in itself, which is something that I wanted to broadcast into the airwaves and project it outwards for some time now. And with this being said, this is a general aspect as it balances itself throughout the equal level of its horizons. And now this video in particular strikes a conflict of interest. It derives from the innermost sanctum of your core and the foundation of your entire being, which I believe it should be addressed and discussed and spoken of more often than what it appears or what it should be. And this video in particular is surrounding a collective community or our modern society of how everyone decides to cultivate or distribute or share a horizon of not so much knowledge, it's more deriving of assumptions, accusations, or a general beliefs of judgments, whether if it's positive or negative. And judgments in general is never a positive thing. You know, I believe in my convictions. I've begun to unravel a deeper genetics of my philosophy, which is I no longer believe in such an existence as positive or negative. That's more like a pregnancy test or a car battery, if you will, or the ions and covalent bonds for some kind of scientific mutation or experiment or what have you. I believe in either balance or chaos. So let's just refer to the negatives as being chaos. However, I have always found myself to finding or discovering that beauty within darkness, or that light in darkness, or the darkness within light, if you will. So this particular video, I wanted to address to everyone who might have distant relations, friends, family, even complete strangers, or those who are somehow close knitted or close to you to a degree, however they're not, and they continue to try to dispel or try to push forward to you a particular judgment to whether if someone, well, it's part of the genetic of our imperfection and our human nature of how everyone decides to judge one another, to throw accusations towards one another, put words in each other's mouths, or gnaw at each other's throats, or to simply fight among ourselves for no particular reason. And the thing that I've conflicted myself with, I experienced since birth, or at least during the earlier teenage years of my childhood and my teenage years, and throughout the progression or evolution of my life, was being surrounded by constant fulfillment of people's judgments towards me. And as myself, I am a misanthropist. I believe in, I am a misanthropic, which I do not generally trust or like the majority of human beings. And I apologize if that offends anyone or not. I find myself to being a theosophist, encompassing both religion and science. I also believe in Thelema. And, however, I do believe in a divine creator. And if that makes sense. So in essence, my philosophy is coexistence. I believe that of all people, through equality and diversity, are able to, like a covalent bond, share our relationship together regardless of our social backgrounds, our ethnicity, and otherwise, our sexual orientation, and so forth, or what we appear ourselves on the outside. Because, you know, that's one thing that I've always been judged, in particular, for my outward appearance, and not so much for my inward appearance. And I believe that so many of ourselves as human beings, we have a tendency to judge one another without the incentive of actually getting to know that individual beneath the surface. And we have so much of an incentive, or that apt, or that willingness to judge something that we know nothing of, or we understand so very little of. And we have this tendency within our modern society where people have no desire to get to know one another, or even collectively bond together to help one another, to share our relationship within each other, despite balancing out the proper or necessary or appropriate equations of our chemistry, which is our imperfections. However, we could still coexist together even without having to, even with having to bond together our imperfections, our impurities, or our differences and similarities. And that's what I envision through creating these videos, writing my books. And every day is an unfamiliar journey as you venture out into the uncharted territories of human existence in itself. And each day is a progressive new journey that begins and unfolds, unravels, and unveils a new chapter of life. And so many people are absent without this light or knowledge. And myself, I wander between darkness and light. So my entire being is more integrated with shadows than anything else. And with this being said, I'm neither here, I am neither the left or the right. So I'm just in between. I balance it out as an equation. I wander through life of human existence through that equilibrium. And so many people understand so very little of how to actually bond our differences together so that we could envision the prosperity of a future world where we could actually survive collectively under such harmonic or peaceful transitioning standards, if you will. Just simply coexistence. And that's the purpose why we create our videos, to thought-provoke, to share idealisms, beliefs, inspiration of knowledge, of truth, and of how to challenge the core and consciousness of modern mankind in general. And alright, so getting down to the point of this particular video, which is, if you have distant relations or friends, family, whomever in your life, complete strangers, I could honestly God care less who, they should have no reason or incentive in the entire world to judge you based upon who you are, surrounding the outcome of whether if you have a job or not, how much money you have, the update or upgrade of your car, whether if it's old or new, you know, if you're married or not, or if you have a family or not. Neither of those things define what, you know, here in America, we would say like, oh, that's being like someone of an individual to make them, a man out of you or a woman out of you or some sexist term. If that's the case, then how about make a transgender out of you or something, or all these politically correct, happy, sociable thoughts of impulses that is deriving nothingness, a realm of infinite emptiness within it. I do not believe in labels. I do not believe in terminologies. I do not believe in this or that, And simply to put, for a human being to have those titles of social classes in life, those jurisdictions, they absolutely mean nothing in the entire world. Now, that does not entitle to say that, you should not have a family, or you should not live in harmony, or do what thou wilt. For love is a law, love under will. However, simply for someone to not have a job, to not have a car, that does not make them any lesser of a human being. What the modern society would mandate in that particular label to be called like a loser. That person is nothing less than a human being. And at the end of the night, at the beginning of a new chapter of life, that person is still a human being. It's a fragment of our creation and our destruction. That person is a human being. That person is a person, an individual. He or she has a willingness of thought, of consciousness. As long as that person has positive or good intentions, and has a good, clear heart, and that's all that truly matters in life. And nothing else matters, and everything else is irrelevant or insignificant. As long as that person tries his or her best to succeed in life, to move and progress towards the journey of the future, and betters him or herself, or the world around him or her. And that's all that matters. That's all that I personally, and the convictions of my belief and my philosophy, that's all I care of. Because on the account in behalf of Genevieve, including myself, we accept people, we accept the world. Well, not so much the world, but it's more of others. People with an open mind, with an open heart, with an open, warm welcome of our arms, with open arms, until at least they prove us otherwise wrong or in a negative perspective. However, I myself, I have a car, I have a job, I pay my bills on time. $500 a month for bills, for rent, mind you. And I may not have particularly a house right now. However, we are in a process of, of course, saving for an apartment, a pretty big apartment, mind you. And with all this accountability, and to some people, I'm still not seen as an adversary of something worthy. Even despite that, I struggle in the maintenance, balancing my upright faith in the light, my walk in the center path through the journey of existence as I travel constantly eastward in life. The main important thing is just to be who you are. Accept yourself with open arms. Believe in yourself, be confident, and worry not of what others think, say, or take action or otherwise against or towards you, and believe in the convictions of your belief. We all have a different belief systems, which is completely fine. However, the underlying truth of it is, the most truth that veils in today's society is to be who you are as a human being. And it's unfortunate because of myself, because I was missing that one fragment of an expectation or perfection of modern society, of not having a place of my own, that I'm somehow judged. Even despite I pay the bills on time and everything else, everything falls in perfect order and aligns itself in the natural law and order of modern society or humanity. And that somehow makes me everything but a human being. However, the lesser of a human being. And that shocked the core of my thought and my conscience. And I thought to myself, I've grown up my entire life. I've noticed of how others struggle to even have a car, to find a place that would hire them, or give them a shadow for benefit of a doubt. Well, I suppose it's time for us to remove the blindfolds of our human nature and apathy, and to truly collectively bind inside of ourselves as we continue to journey through life. And this is what my second book encompasses or embodies. How I'd overcome a near-death experience and encounter. And through the publication of my second book, only then the world and the infinite universe in itself, even the extraterrestrials up above, will truly deeper understand and unravel who I am as a human being. What I was, who I have become, and who I will have become. Balancing the distribution of this chaos and balance of darkness and light, encompassing it together, truly manifesting, consuming it, understanding both realms, traveling through the astral projections of both dimensions, as infinite as it is. And you know what? The desperation to finding the light was absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Whether if not, anyone has a deeper desire to understanding where I have traveled, who I have become, or our deeper philosophical entwinement of our bonds, the relationship that we share deeper inside the core of yourselves, or ourselves rather, I could honestly God care less. This book is open to the foundation of a desire of a deeper understanding, the consciousness awakening, truly discovering that decoding light, that balance that you somehow find within yourselves as you travel throughout your entire human existence, above and beyond the planes of what you thought might not have existed. However, it does. That entitlement, that struggle to constantly upright to balancing the weight of the physical world that we so coexist as our continuation is a bonding of our legacy here upon earth, and that outer dimensional and interdimensional realm, and that being the vessel of yourself. You constantly travel through portals inside and out of yourselves. I mean, inside and out of ourselves. And that light, once you find it, is truly immaculate. And the darkness, once you find it, is so very tempting, it's alluring. It's majestic beyond the measures of all belief. It's a lot like touching crimson, laced in venom. That crimson is just so citric, had I survived it, had I mastered both realms between one another, and how we had foreshadowed a deeper veil of existence that I thought I never would have traveled to. And this book in itself is a collection of documents and a statement of nonfiction of everything that I had traveled through in the struggle to finding myself and our purpose, our legacy. So if you have anyone in your life that continues to judge you for who you are, if you have all the right credentials of life, if you have everything in order, and they still continue to place the sword of judgment upon you, then continue to be who you are and never surrender yourself or to imbalance your walk for anyone else or anything else. For that, it simply is not worth it. So whatever you're struggling with or finding a desperation to finding in life, continue to fight, regardless of the cost. Even if it costs your own life. And you still continue to finding it, to dig deeper, to unearth it, to unravel it, to finding the core of it, to deeper understand it. Understand it so much that it becomes a very foundation in the life of your core, regardless of what anyone else says of you. And through that is the greatest skeleton key you could unravel, to find and unlock inside of yourselves. I'm not myself everyone's cup of tea, which I am completely content and fine with, considering that for those who judge us personally, they understand so very little of us, and they assume everything. They understand nothing.